Hey everybody, what is up, and welcome to just a video with TheMKninja. Now, I got tagged into something called the Pokemon Timeline Tag. It's kind of a new challenge or whatever that's been made by some Pokemon YouTuber, where I have to go through every Pokemon game I've ever owned, from the first to the most recent, give a memory for it and stuff like that, or maybe like a drawing, and then I have to tag 3 other Pokemon YouTubers in it, so I can just continue the cycle and such like that. It's going to be kind of difficult because I only know one other Pokemon YouTuber, so I'm going to have to find 3 random people. But anyway, I'll go ahead and get started. I'm going to do memory instead of a drawing or something like that. So my very first experience with Pokemon was actually, it was Generation 1, even though I often pick on that generation. But I didn't start with red version or blue version or something like that. No, what I started with was fire red version. I remember seeing a friend playing it, and I was like, that looks cool. And he's like, yeah, it's where you fight creatures. But I was confused because you weren't able to move your character. And I never played an RPG before. It wasn't just something I had done. So at first I wasn't very interested when I heard you just, select attacks. But I heard more and more and more Pokemon, and I saw bits of the anime and such like that, which I originally wasn't allowed to see because my parents thought it was too violent. But eventually they did allow me to see it, and they eased up. I also convinced, and then eventually I just convinced my mother to buy me Fire Red and a Game Boy Advance. And I played it so much. I had so many hours into it. It was one of my favorite games during my childhood at that time, and I played it so much, and I really enjoyed it. And probably my memory for that game is, I'd have to say, beating the Elite Four, because it was my very first experience. I never played a strategy game before that, so my thought process was just go in like guns a-blazing and such. And that took me about maybe 7 tries or so, and I was super proud of myself and super happy when I finally beat the Elite Four. I felt so accomplished. And about a few years later, I saw that Pokemon 3rd Generation was out. Or, actually it was already out, but I don't remember how I got it, but I remember getting Emerald version. And this is where I started to fall in love with Pokemon. This is my experience where I became obsessed with this franchise, where I loved everything about Hoenn. I loved the Pokemon, I loved the experience, I loved the region, I loved the gym leaders, I loved the style, I loved it all. I loved the music. It blew my childhood mind. It blew my mind. It was incredible. And I have to say, my experience for Emerald was definitely catching Rayquaza, because to this day I think the best legendary Pokemon music is from Generation 3, because it's so epic and bombastic, and it just builds up until you realize, oh man, stuff is going down. And Rayquaza was such an intimidating and impressive looking Pokemon, and I just looked at it and I was like, you are the coolest thing I've ever seen, and I want you right now. I'm going to use you, and I'm going to kick so much ass with you. And it was amazing, and I spent so much time, and eventually I caught it. And then I swept through the Elite Four so much after that. They were basically like cannon fodder. They were training grounds for me. And after that, it was actually a while before I got a new Pokemon game. I had a Nintendo DS at that point, and I remember playing my old games, and I was like, I wish I would get a new one now, because I'd beaten the ones that I had. So I saw a Diamond version for Generation 4, and I was like, I want that. So I eventually got that, and I remember very much enjoying it. It was, I don't remember enjoying it as much as Emerald, though, but it was still very much a good experience. I was very impressed by the visuals and such like that. Everything looked so much grander and more epic and all that. And it looked much prettier because of the new updated graphics and such. And my experience with that is actually trying to beat the first gym leader, because you'd think after playing 2 other Pokemon games I would be awesome at this, but going against a rock gym leader with a fire type when you're still not too much of a strategist wasn't exactly the best decision I made. So that one took probably maybe 4 tries or so. After that, of course, I didn't really have any problems, but that one took so long, and I would I would always be outside wondering, man, how do I do this? Because I think it took me a few days to do it, and eventually I did do it. And I felt happy, and I continued through the game, and I enjoyed it very much. And after that, it was not too long, but I got 5th generation. I didn't really care which one I got, so I just picked one up, and if I remember correctly, it was white version, because I got Zekrom, I think, so I think it was white version, yeah. Because I thought Zekrom was so much cooler. So yeah, I got that, and to be honest, I don't remember too much from Generation 5. I do remember very much enjoying it, though. I remember the region was very nice. I remember there were some really awesome legendaries. There were lots of really cool Pokemon. I remember there was a lot of hate for it, though, because some people thought the designs were lazy and such like that. And at that point, I was still not too much of a critic, so I just kind of ignored them and enjoyed playing it. And I don't really have too much of a memory for Generation 5. But after that, I went to the apartments, and of course I brought some of my own games, such like that, and I found out there were other guys there who liked Pokemon, so I was like, oh, here's my stuff, and like they were going through it and like, oh, this one's trash, this one's trash, and I was like, what? You're like, the natures are bad, and at that point I was like, what does this mean? I learned so much about competitive Pokemon and just how to be a good player while at the college. It was incredible, and then we were seeing the X and Y version were coming out, so I decided, hey, maybe I can get back into Pokemon now and play the newest version. So I bought a 3DS, which I still have, and I bought X version, and it was like being a kid again. It was like being blown away by a Pokemon game again, because we had never seen something like this. We hadn't seen 3D graphic Pokemon. We for Generation 5, they were constantly moving and such like that, but it's always been sprites. So to see 3D models for everything, it was amazing. And that's my memory for it, just opening it up and being blown away. And it was fantastic. And X and Y are still some of the best ones. And I think 6th generation is probably the 3rd best, or maybe even 2nd best out of all of them. And after that, I was in competitive Pokemon. And then we were seeing Oris was coming out, and then memories of 3rd gen were flooding back to me, and I'm just like, I have to get it. I was super pumped, like super duper excited. So like the first few days that it came out, I went and got that sucker, and I still have it. And I've actually played it and beaten it twice now, because I don't know if I told this before, but there was one time where pretty much all of my Pokemon games were just stolen right out from under me. I lost everything that I've talked about now, so I can't even back it up. But it happens, and it sucked. But I played Oris twice, and I still have it, and I loved Oris. And my memory from Oris was probably experiencing the Legendary. Because there's this one cutscene when you go down to fight either Kyogre or Groudon to save the world, and it's such a badass and really intimidating cutscene. And it looks amazing, and it just gave me this intense chill down my spine. And I was like, I love this. I love it so much. I love it. I want to keep playing this. I want to save at this point and keep watching this. And it was awesome. And now I'm playing Pokemon Soul Silver. Still haven't beaten it yet, but you can check out my playthrough. Since I haven't beaten it, I don't really have a memory for it yet or so. I don't really have anything that sticks out as like, oh wow kind of thing. Not for me just yet. It might happen later on. It might never happen. I don't know, but that's how it's going on. And of course, I'm also deeply excited for Sun and Moon, which I will give a review for. But yeah, that was my Pokemon timeline tag. That was me in Pokemon. And I know I was much more descriptive of the older ones, but keep in mind, a lot of the stuff that I talked about before, maybe like X version, was at least maybe like 4 or 5 years ago, and even the college stuff was a few years ago, so yeah, like a lot of the stuff is buried in my memory. But yeah, that's my experience of Pokemon through the ages. So if you guys enjoyed this video, please go ahead and make sure to rate, comment, and subscribe. Check out my other videos. Also make sure to check out my supporters, all their great stuff. And I will see you guys next time. Peace out.